Saturday, March 3rd, 2018. It is March Madness. It has begun. Welcome into the show today. The closing line presented by SportsbookReview.com. I'll be your host today, Donnie Rightside, along with the man, the myth, the legend, the college basketball savant. He's my partner in crime, the big man on campus. Jeff, we got a lot to go over, a lot of exciting stuff already about to hit. Full card today, brother.
Yeah, welcome in. Thanks, Donnie. Yeah, big card, conference tournaments, non-conference tournaments. We got to make sure we know what we're betting today, not just blindly looking at things. Make sure we know, is it a conference game? Is it a conference tournament game? We'll get you through it. We'll see what we can find here for plays today and have some fun here.
No, we're going to have a good time. I just getting those live links tweeted out. I know this show is very popular there. We'll try to get to as many games as we possibly can today, folks. If you have any games out there, try to wait a couple minutes in there, put those rotation numbers in. We'll get to those early games first, and then we'll open up the card where you can ask questions of both myself or the big man on campus. We'll give out some plays, give out some angles today. But Jeff brings up a really good thing here today, folks. A lot of these games, again, there are some conference tournament playing, but there are still some conferences with a lot to be settled yet. Two games I'm going to look for today a little bit later in the show that I'll give out, Jeff, that I already wagered on are some Ivy League action with some implications on who's going to get into that top four. Jeff called it already. Wait till you see who's playing today, who needs what. That's going to be a big indicator, Jeff.
Yeah, no, you're totally right. And, it's really just simple, just making sure you're doing due diligence and looking at things, That's kind of why, for me, I'm happy that I do some of these conference tournament previews because I'm already kind of set up on thinking what our conference tournaments which are. Also, you got really random capping scenarios. Like, Donnie, this is probably the most random game on the card, but it's kind of a cool scenario. You have real quick, you have Maryland, Baltimore County, and UMass Lowell getting going today, Donnie, in the America East tournament. If you don't know this, UMass Lowell has never played in a conference tournament game. They're a new team to Division One. They've went through their sanctions, or not their sanctions. Their the rules where you can't be in postseason play. This is their first postseason game. You got to think that's kind of cool for them. They're hopped up. They're ready to go. Baltimore County, they go frenetically. They're quick and fast. Could be a good over game there, baby. But little random things like that can be the edge in handicapping sometimes.
No, it should be a lot of fun. A lot of stuff about to tip off, Jeff. One of the games earlier that we were talking about just before going live, Central Michigan and Western Michigan tipping off at 11 o'clock. Actually, probably underway just about now. Didn't cap that game, but interesting circumstance if you are keeping up with. There was a shooting on campus of Central Michigan, which delayed that game from last night to today. And if you saw anything that's no longer being all played on campus, I believe yesterday, Jeff, Western Michigan getting about plus 3.5. That game, I think, went to about a pick 'em, and rightfully so. You're not in your home gym anymore. There's actually, Jeff, no fans allowed to be at this game. So it's going to be a gym with just the teams, just the coaches, and that's going to be it in this one. So we'll see how that works out. Which, keep in mind, Jeff, in this, if they trade it out there, are we still going to get live updates on the actual score if it's not really being broadcast?
Yeah, I mean there'll be some sort of odds score service there that'll probably produce it. I don't know. I'm not sure. I've never seen I've seen soccer games like that where they don't have anyone in the crowd or anything, but yeah, I don't know. That's interesting. I feel like it's a little quick to be having a game. I don't know. I guess they have to have it though. I don't know. That's a good question.
Yeah, no, it's funny you said that too, Jeff. You just had a shooting on campus. The kids are probably shaking up. But, Jeff, the almighty dollar in NCAA action. This is the last game of the year for the MAAC, so you have to play it for the seedings to be possible. They don't care. Hey, pick the kids up, move them down the street, play in a high school gym. The show must go on because the money has to be made, Jeff.
Exactly.
All right, board is open for us today, Jeff. Where do you want to start off? A couple 12 o'clock games? You want to hit a few of those, and then we'll open it up and see what happens?
We can do whatever you want.
Let's do it, man. We'll just pick the top of the rotation of the day, Jeff, to get it started. 5:15, 5:16, Jeff. Xavier and DePaul going to tip it off shortly here. 2,700 tickets have been tracked in this one. 80% of those tickets, Jeff, lining up for Xavier in this one. But here we go. Line opened up at 7.5, Jeff. Sitting at 7.5 across the board. Sportsbook.ag actually showing an 8. The over-under in this one, Jeff, about 158, 157.5. What are we looking at here? Because if you notice, Xavier's clinched. I don't want to say. I think Villanova could still somehow get back in the race there for the Big East, but Xavier already clinched. Now they're going on the road, laying almost double digits. What do you see out of this one, Jeff?
Yeah, I don't have anything on this game. I think it's kind of a useless matchup. DePaul is just getting to the end of the season. They're going to the tournament. They have nothing to play for. Xavier, same thing. This is a total pass for me. I don't have any. I don't have anything on this one.
Let's get to your local boy here, Jeff. 523, 524 in the chat box. FTC Television says Virginia Tech +3 with a question mark, Jeff. About 1,500 tickets have been wagered this one. Line moving up in the direction for the Hurricanes. Opened at 2.5, now sits at 3. Didn't really look too much into this basketball game, but just going over a couple numbers here. To me, it seems like this is a play with Miami's in a pretty good spot here. We know Virginia Tech gets good guard play, an up-tempo team, but when you're looking at betting Virginia Tech, Jeff, from my perspective, I like to bet Virginia Tech at home as opposed to on the road. I think Miami gets it done today.
Yeah, that's how I'm looking at it. I prefer Vodtech at home as well. You got to wonder though where Miami's head's at after that big time win the other night. They probably come down off it and they're probably ready to go. But I don't know, maybe the under. Both these teams are sneaky good defensively. I could see one of those, 20-17 games with 6 minutes to go in the first half. Yeah, but it's not. You picked two games here that I'm not too big on. Donnie, how about we do this one? Kentucky, Florida, an interesting game here. I mean, this line is up to 6. I mean, can you explain these numbers to me today? I don't get it. There's like 4 games. The number is out of whack, and I don't understand why. Why is this number 6? Can someone please explain?
Yeah, Jeff, it doesn't even open at 6. I mean, I'm looking at my odds board here. Pinnacle at
There was
3.5.
3
Chris at
last night.
4. Yeah, and the line opens up. And again, Jeff, here's one of those indicators. 74% of the public and 80% of the money, Jeff, backing the Kentucky Wildcats in this one, and it's going up. Do they know something that we don't, where there's going to be a late suspension of 2 to 3 guys for Kentucky at this point? Because you're right, that line is skyrocketing north without any money pushing it behind it.
Yeah, it's very odd. I mean, you have a couple other games like this as well. Um, I hate to be like this, but it's hard for me to not take the 6. It's just growing at you. It's just looking at you. I think Kentucky can win. I mean, 6 points. I mean, I don't get it. West Virginia, Texas, I think is kind of an interesting game. Texas desperately needs the game. They're at home, but they've had some injuries at the worst times. Mohamed Bamba's out. You look at their guard play, you gotta be a bit concerned, Donnie. I mean, I actually I actually bet this game last time they played, and I took West Virginia. I thought it was a fantastic scenario because basically at the time, Andrew Jones obviously was out with leukemia, and Eric Davis wasn't playing either. Oh, he played sparingly. He's not playing here, I don't think either. He's still out, right, Eric Davis? They haven't reinstated him, right?
No, no.
Yeah. So I mean, you have to look at this scenario from a certain point. Basically, the point guard today will be Matt Coleman. Matt Coleman is a freshman. He struggled considerably in the first game against West Virginia. I mean, they won by 35, Donnie, in that game, West Virginia. I think West Virginia's a good play here. Sometimes you just have bad matchups. Texas might play honorably here, but without all these players, without pure guards that can handle a press, might be another tough one.
Sorry about that mic issue there. Definitely good when you look at it overall. But again, these teams are winding down, an early start, Jeff, down in Texas. We've seen some things, some numbers come out where maybe you lean on unders with those early start times because, correct me if I'm wrong, Jeff, they're playing in Texas. That game is an 11 a.m. tip. So how juicy can the atmosphere be and how awake would these kids be for this game tipping off? But you're right. I like that Kentucky-Florida game. Definitely an interesting number. Just going down some rotations here, Jeff. One that caught my eye, Big East style, Jeff. 525, 526. Georgetown, Villanova, sitting at 19 at Chris right now, Jeff. 19. I know how well Villanova plays at home at the Wells Fargo Center, big game environment. But to cover a 19 spot, Georgetown, not that kickover that we thought they would be at the beginning of the season. Does that 19 seem right to you, Jeff? But hey, there's a reason why they hang that there.
No, it doesn't. I actually thought about this one last night at 18.5. Just seems like a few too many, but Villanova has had some real blowouts in that stadium. Problem is, people will look at this and say, "Well, it's senior night for Villanova." They don't have any, so I mean, it's not really senior night. This has the feeling to me of like 84-70 or something. Maybe Georgetown first half. I don't play a ton of first half, but they've generally been pretty competitive in the first half this year. Villanova, a lot of the time, will just blow you out in the second half. Um, Yeah, it looks. There's a lot of lines today that look like they just don't make any sense to me. Like, and
You know
it's
what's
like, wow,
interesting with that, Jeff?
I could really be God
No, go
here.
ahead. I want to
I
pick
could
your
just
brain on
really be
something like
God.
this because
Yeah.
there's a whole stuff here that we look at like senior night, right? And how it pretends. When you look at Villanova and their senior night, Jeff, like senior night is a way to go out on top, right? I think Villanova, and their kids, as you say, there's no seniors, but they don't look at it as their last home game. Like they have bigger fish to fry down the road, winning the Big East tournament, winning a national championship. When I look at things like senior night, I'm looking at like those non-Power 5 conferences where you have 5 seniors and 4 of them are redshirt seniors playing their last home game before they go on the road to like Arch Madness or whatever it would be. Those mean a lot to those kids because they've been there 4 and 5 years, and that's really their high send-off point. At these big Power 5 schools, maybe 1, maybe 2 seniors on the team, but a lot of these teams are moving on to play in the tournament. They're not really, getting up or crying. Like I know Rhode Island got blown out on senior night, but that's a little bit different as you look at Hurley talking about that team. We were crying for 10 minutes, and these guys are the foundation, the shareholders of the program, bringing Rhode Island back. I get all that, but when you look at these bigger teams, like let's just say, Kentucky's at home, senior night. There's 5 freshmen on the court. Do you think they give a damn about senior night?
No, it's a clueless thing to talk about. It generally doesn't mean anything at all to anyone. Look, for the first 5 minutes, it's cool because and most of the time, if you're, for seniors, like they'll try to play better, but sometimes you just are who you are. I mean, it fades off for like 3 minutes after the fact. Um, the only thing that I really hate about it is sometimes like teams will put in like random guys that never play and they'll get their shine for like a minute or two. And generally they'll go right at that guy. It's like a corner in the NFL that comes in as a third stringer and Aaron Rodgers totally knows it and just goes right at him right away. Um, Temple actually did it. They put in Steve Leonard the one game and he came in and actually
Pops
played.
two
He went
threes.
well. Yeah, he hit a couple threes, which no surprise. It seems like everyone that sits on Temple's bench is better than the players that are on the court. But yeah, you got to remember that. But yeah, in certain teams like Kentucky has no seniors. Villanova has no seniors. Is Jalen Brunson maybe moving on? Maybe, but he's not a senior. He's just moving on. So yeah, I don't put a ton of stock. As far as this game, I mean, it's hard to not take the 19 here, but Villanova should put up so many crooked numbers at home this year.
Yeah, let's keep it moving down the list. And again, if you guys have anything out there that you want to have, reach out to us there on the chat box and put in the rotation number. But we'll skip down to a couple of games here as the days go. Keep it at maybe let's say rotation, because a lot of these are a little bit out of whack because there are conference tournaments. So my rotation numbers are going to be all jumbled up here, Jeff. How about a Philadelphia real quick? I want to hit on 541, 542. LaSalle St. Joe's opens up at 5.5. Jeff, quickly bet down to 4 in this instance. I had a nice winner on LaSalle over Dayton this week. Now they flip it over and go across city over to City Line Avenue to play St. Joe's. I thought the line was a little bit high at 5.5, Jeff. One of those coin flip type games. I can agree with that line moving down to 4, and I still would lean on LaSalle at this point.
Uh, yeah, I mean, it's a City 5 game. I mean, generally it's a pretty good one. I mean, it's down to 4 at this point. You got to see what Pookie Powell's situation is. I don't really want to get got and not have him in the lineup. So, if he's in there, I think it's probably a great game. I think St. Joe's is better than people think. I think they've unfortunately just been real unlucky with injuries. I mean, Lamar Kimball, Shavar Newkirk last year, they just keep getting injuries and Phil Martelli just hasn't been able to. He's a great coach, just injuries happen. Um, Coin flippy, it's a great match between two City 5 Philadelphia teams. Probably just grab the points, but I want to see if Pookie Powell's playing, Donnie, before I make any decision.
Yep, listed questionable there, Jeff. Why don't we hit one at 12 o'clock? I know you were very fluid on this conference. 689, 690, Jeff. As I said, they're going to get started up in about 45 minutes. That's Fairleigh Dickinson and LIU Brooklyn. 85% of the early wagers in this game lining up on Long Island, Brooklyn there. You got -3, -2.5 across the board. Looks like we're anticipating some points, Jeff, as Chris opened at 160 as a total. Now bet down to 158.5. Any pointers on this game?
Yeah, I mean, we're expecting points because both these teams are very frenetic, very up tempo. They love to run up and down the court. I mean, the LAU Brooklyn Blackbirds are 52nd in the country in pace of play. Fifth, FDU also very high. Listen, I think LAU Brooklyn can win this conference. I mentioned that in one of my previews. I like Derek Kellogg. I think he's a good coach. I think he fits. Donnie, does he not fit LIU Brooklyn? Does he not look like the quintessential guy from Bensonhurst? I mean, honestly, he looks just like the guy you'd see on 18th Avenue or Bath Avenue or something. It's nice. I like Derek Kell. I think he's a good coach as well. And I think with some of the players he has, Jay Sean Agosto, Joel Hernandez, I like this team. And against Fairleigh Dickinson this year, they beat them. Well, they beat them once. They lost the other one, but at home, I mean, the better team hosts. This is a bit of a travel spot here on a Saturday. I like Fairleigh Dickinson. I think they're the better team. Fairleigh's played well though lately. They've had some nice results. I thought it was surprising that they actually beat St. Francis. They've won, I think, 6 of 8, so they're playing some good basketball. But I like LAU Brooklyn. They're a team that I think phonetically is a tough matchup ever, and I think at their home gym, I just think they have a better team, and I think they're more aligned to move on. So I would go with LAU Brooklyn. I think Derek Kell will get the job done here.
All right, Kobe in the chat box, Jeff. We're going to go to 537, 538, a 2 p.m. tip, SEC tilt. Alabama's going to go on the road to play Texas A&M. About 1,000 tickets have been tracked in this one, Jeff. Taking a look, about 55% of those tickets lining up for Texas A&M. But that line opened up at 6.5, Jeff. Pinnacle now showing with half juice, -4.5. So that money coming in here must be a little bit sharp, pushing that number down for A&M. You know me, Jeff. I'm an A&M hater. They came out and played a really good game last time out. Now heading back on their home court, but the line moving opposite in that direction. Maybe Colin Sexton gets it on the road, get it going. But, I mean, A&M to me has been a disappointment. A lot of injuries during the season. Banged up throughout the year. They don't have, the normal amount of point guards or guards that they typically have, but very fluent, very good down low on the blocks. Can Alabama keep this game close and cover that line?
Yeah, I definitely think they can. I think Alabama's closer to the bubble than you might think. I think they're in the tournament, but I don't think they're totally safe. I think if they need another win here, and can they go on the road and get it? I don't know. I mean, they're not a great road team. I mean, they're 5-9 straight up on the road. 5-9 straight up, not against the number. 5-9 straight up. But for one weird reason, Texas A&M has not been kind of the home team that all these other SEC teams have been. They've been kind of topsy turvy, especially against the number 5-7. I don't know. I'm not big in backing any road team. If I like the road team in the SEC, I kind of just avoid the game. It's hard to win on the road in this conference. One of the toughest in the country. 6 of the last 8 in this game have went under the number. So there you go. But I don't have anything on this game. Very tough one. It's either home favorite or home dog or pass. I want to back home teams, and I'm not in love with A&M here, so it's a pass.
Let's head to the Dunkin' Donuts Center at 12 o'clock tip-off, Jeff. 519, 520. St. John's taking on the Providence Friars. About a 50-50 ticket split here. Still no Shamori Pons for St. John's, but that didn't matter versus Butler. I know, Jeff, we broke it down on the closing line, just taking a flyer on Pons being a late scratch in that game versus Butler. Butler blew the lead as it went down. I did lose a little bit of money on that one, but bouncing back here on the road, Jeff, line opened up at 4.5. Now sitting at 5, 5.5. Even Sportsbook.ag, Jeff, hanging a 6 in the way of the Providence Friars. St. John's heading out on the road, Jeff. You'd like to say, in some of those early games, Pons, particularly against Butler, not in there, maybe a little bit of emotion at home. You can carry it through, you pick up the win. Now you're in game 2 and heading out on the road without your best player. How do you think that stacks up today against the Friars?
Well, I think there's some interesting dynamics here. One of which is the Providence Friars are a last 4-in team. I don't really think you cannot lose to St. John's. I think the good thing about today's games it's take care of business day, Donnie. If you're a good team and you're in the tournament, you cannot afford losses to teams like St. John's, especially at home without the other team's best player. Without Pons, this is a really not a very dynamic team, frankly. I mean, Providence needs to take care of business. They'll have a major advantage at the guard position with Cartwright and Diallo. They're just not very talented, St. John's, without Pons and Levet. They just aren't. I think you have to take care of business. You got to put no doubt here. The problem I have with St. John's, Donnie, or Providence, they're 3-10 as a favorite. Providence. I mean, you're not putting a lot of ambition behind your bet there with a team that's failed to cover in 10 of 13 as a favorite. That's a concern for me. But look, if this was 2.5, 3, yeah, I'm interested. But 5, 5.5. Providence is going to have to close this one out, win by margin. Can they do that? I think they can, but it's hard to lay it. It should be a double-digit win, though.
Yeah, from the chat box here, Mike wants to hit rotation 535, 536. That's going to be another SEC tilt. Mississippi State heading out to take on the LSU Tigers. About 1,000 tickets tracked in that one. Good betting volume here, Jeff. 50-50 split in those tickets. Line opened up at 2.5. Now sits a little bit lower across the board. Pinnacle showing a 1.5. Chris, BetOnline, and Sportsbook.ag all showing 2s in this one. Any thoughts on this SEC tilt here?
Yeah, another desperate team, Mississippi State. They need a win. I don't know how much beating LSU will move the lever, but losing to them wouldn't be good. I'll tell you what, a lot of these games are very kind of straightforward for me. Mississippi State, they're 3-7 on the road, Donnie. They're great at home. They're 18-1 at home, but away from Starkville, they're 3-7. You have an LSU team that, all in all, it's been a better year. Will Wade has turned his team around. They're shooting 50% at home, and they're 12-4 and 8-3 against the number. Just because a team needs to and doesn't mean they're going to. To me, Mississippi State, I like them at home. They've been a great team. I think the NIT would be a perfect tournament for this team. I think they could kind of flex their muscles at home. I don't think they're a tournament team, frankly. I think they're going to be one of those teams that will be left out. I think they're going to go in and lose today, and I think their dream of going to the tournament will be over. They just are an NIT team to me.
Jeff, Kyle Hamburg tunes in. We're going to go to some A10 action, Jeff. An 8 p.m. tip-off tonight. 6:05, 6:06 is the rotation number. That's St. Bonaventure and St. Louis. Line opened up at 2.5 and 1.5. Now sits at about 2.5 across the board here, Jeff. Last time we saw both of these teams, Davidson picked up a miracle win versus Rhode Island last night, but off that thriller up at St. Bonaventure the other night. I believe it was 3 overtimes that it went to. Numerous players fouled out. A lot of heart and soul there given by the St. Bonaventure squad. Now heading out on the road to St. Louis. Interesting here because St. Bonaventure, Jeff, wants to hang on to that 2 line in the A10, but St. Louis still fighting in that 4-5 seed. So both teams technically still need to win this game. You can give out a senior night for St. Louis in this aspect, but if you're looking at this game from a perspective that I just think a hot team coming in, St. Bonaventure, still sitting. If you watch Joe Lenardi or Bracketology, they're on that 11-12 line. They need this victory over St. Louis, and they need a couple victories in the A10 tournament to solidify that at-large bid that they're hoping to get during tournament. So I'll lean St. Bonaventure's in this one, Jeff. Tough place to play after that really emotional senior night game that goes 3 overtimes, but they've had enough time. I believe that was Tuesday night. It's now Saturday, and heading on the road against St. Louis. Should be a knockout, drag-out fight, but I just think the talent lies here, Jeff, with St. Bonaventure.
Yeah, this is a fascinating game. I mean, it really is kind of an all-in-all trap game if you're St. Bonaventure. I mean, you're coming off a huge win, an overtime, to several overtime game. Now you go on the road to take on a team that you really should manhandle. But you're right, Donnie. If you're Bonaventure, this is another take care of business kind of game. St. Bonaventure, if you lose to a quad 3 St. Louis, I don't think you can go to the tournament. I don't know how you can make that sense, especially late in the season. You have a strong bubble, Donnie. You look at the bubble. You have Louisville, USC, Texas, UCLA, Syracuse, Washington, Utah, Notre Dame. This is a good bubble with teams that are better than you are, that have better resumes than you do late in the season. They're going to get precedence over St. Bonaventure, unfortunately. And I don't think St. Bonaventure is going to win this title. I think it's a weak A10 this year. I think they'll get lucky to have 2 teams in. Listen, it wouldn't surprise me if they go and lose to St. Louis. St. Louis is an interesting team at Chaffetz Arena. However, it's hard to get involved with St. Louis just because of the Title IX stuff going on there. Jordan Goodwin's gone. He's to me, their best player. I think he just does everything. 2 steals a game, 4 assists, 12 points. It's hard to lose a guy like that and be competitive, especially if you're St. Louis. I think Travis Ford's got it going in the right direction here, but I'm not too confident in it. You look at the first time that these 2 teams played, St. Bonaventure rolled. I can't say I think that a change of scenery here will be any different. Bonaventure's been good to me. I think you've bet them once or twice. Yep. Yeah, I think they're one of the better spots on the board as long as they can take care of business. The senior guards, I like Courtney Stockard. He's played a lot better lately for Bonaventure. Yep. Gives them a dynamic third scorer. Yeah, I think Bonaventure's a great play today. You just got to hope they don't come and lay an egg here.
Jeff, next up on the board, we're going to go to a conference tournament that looks like it's already imploded or exploded on impact, and that's the Metro Atlantic up in Albany at the Times Union Center, Jeff. It looks like we
What a
want to go.
shit show.
Julian wants to talk. Yeah, Julian wants to talk 683, 684. If you haven't been keeping up on it already, two top teams in the MAAC already out on their first games in the tournament, and there's a little bit of a MO, a modus operandi here that we want to take a look at in Albany, which deals with this game, Jeff. Niagara's coming in. Looks like they're going to be again without Matt Scott, one of the better guards in the league, but they can still score. Don't, just think that player's going to be out. They're going to stop scoring. They're going to be pushing that pace and probably get anywhere between 80 to 90 points in this game today. But taking a look at Fairfield, Jeff, when you head into these games, Niagara's been off, roughly almost 10 days at this point, one of those long lags, and you've seen teams coming in here, Jeff. The last night, Canisius goes in and gets dropped. Before that, top seed Rider gets dropped. They've been off for a while where other teams haven't been, as in that position and getting ready to go. Line, 61% going to lean towards Niagara here, but there's some good even matchups here. -1, depending where you can find it. Pick them in other spots here. Any thoughts? But this conference, Jeff, completely up in the air at this point, topsy-turvy. Anybody can take it down at this point.
Yeah, to me, I got to look towards Iona at this point, just with their experience there and their moxie kind of in this tournament. But yeah, you know what? Fairfield's an interesting team. I mean, this is a very winnable game against the Niagara. The Niagara, what's their mascot? What's Niagara's mascot, Donnie?
I don't actually. I know they're purple, but I don't even know what their mascot is.
I think they're the Purple Hawks. I think, which is a dumb mascot.
Yeah.
Both these mascots are stupid. The Stags and the Purple Hawks, dumb animals here. But yeah, as far as this
and
is
the Bronx,
concerned, right, the Red Foxes. I mean, what's stupid? The Jaspers. This got to be the worst mascot league in the country. But yeah, I mean, no Matt Scott. I mean, it didn't really matter though against Marist. I mean, they dropped, I think, 100 points still. I think this is an up-tempo game. You can't really make a Leopard change its spots. I mean, Niagara is 13th in the country in pace. They're going to go quick. I'd imagine this is a pretty high-scoring game. Fairfield's been led by Tyler Nelson. He had a great game against that Marist team in this tournament. He dropped 28. Huge game for him. I like Fairfield because it seems like they can kind of slow down sometimes they have to, or play up tempo. It's a total coin flip. I don't know though. I want to say I believe in Khalil Dukes. I feel like he can still get the job done for Niagara. Matt Scott will lend some emotional support on the bench. I don't know. I kind of had a feeling on Niagara all year. They've been a pretty good team. I don't know. It's a coin flip, but I don't know. Pick.
Yeah, it's a tough
one.
Yeah. The reason I got to put up there by Julian, which I like the little, reading into it there when you look and say Fairfield's already played in the Times Union Center on Thursday and got a win, and one of these teams coming off like a 10-day extended break and then finally going to play on there. We'll see what happens, but the Metro Atlantic, I mean, Rider was clearly the best team, Jeff, all year long, could do whatever they wanted, and all of a sudden they're up, I had the game last night, 25-17 with about 4 minutes to go in the first half. I'm like, good, Rider's going to take care of business, and then just went in the absolute tank the rest of the game. And then I'm watching later on, Canisius hanging a -9 over Quinnipiac. And next thing you know, they go down in that basketball game. So just crazy, crazy stuff, which again, is what March Madness leads to in this one, Jeff. So we'll take a look here. Let's go. I got one here, a total, it looks like. Let me slide up. And yeah, go ahead, man.
I'll tell you what, listeners need to step up their games today. These games have been terrible that they're asking about. Just nothing here. What is up, listeners? Where are the good games?
We're getting down there. Let's see if they can redeem. Let's see if they can redeem themselves, Jeff. I don't know if they're going to redeem themselves on this one. N16 Hawk, Jeff. 533, 534. He wants to talk totals in George Washington and Dayton today, Jeff. This is the top game on your board, isn't it?
Jesus, man. What is up with these games? I mean, just dreadful. No, I have no interest in this game, and neither do these teams. They're looking to get to the A10 tournament and party. That's all they care about. Yeah. Again, I wonder how certain people's minds work when this is the game that they're looking at. I love it.
That's like, yes, Jeff. They asked a question to me and you about a random game like that. That's how you know we got gamblers out there, degenerates, good bettors, bad bettors, parlay bettors. We have everybody in there. I love it.
You know what I always remember about this chat and these people that we do get shows with? Now, I can literally on a Monday or Tuesday, I'll literally go over the entire card, every single game. And I'll have a guy at the end of the show go, hey, can you look at this game? And I never talked about it. It's like a total in some random game. And I'll say to myself, I'll just laugh. I'll say, And these guys really do see everything, don't they? You never know what people's minds work. So yeah, I'm waiting for Loshak and the bag. Ha ha ha. Well, they're not on today, so I think you're gonna be waiting for a while, Chief. But yeah, I'm sorry, man. I don't have anything on that one. Just not any opinion.
All right, Jeff, we're ready to redeem ourselves here. James chiming in, Jeff. 6:35, 6:36, 2 p.m., Madison Square Garden, the Battle of Michigan, Michigan State, Jeff. Line opens up at 3.5, but now you see that line trajectory going north. Bet online, Jeff, showing a 5.5 minus 120 in the favor of the Michigan State Spartans. But look, I haven't bet on Michigan this year, I don't think, or against Michigan this year. But I'm taking a look, Jeff. And I don't understand it. You flip the page to March, right? And I know, Izzo and, Michigan State always has good March runs. But there's something about Michigan who just seems to play better and better down the stretch. And all of a sudden, Division III transfers are out here dominating in Madison Square Garden. Everything that goes up from Michigan goes in. Do you bet against them? It looks like, Sharp Money or whoever's betting this is pushing that Michigan State line higher to 5.5. Neutral court site, Jeff. I'm just going to lean on the points. I would take Michigan getting 5.5 here in the Garden today.
Yeah, you can get 5.5 at Bet Online. Good call,
Yeah.
Donnie. Yeah, I thought this line would be 4.5, 5. That's kind of where I thought it'd be, and it's right there. How do you bet against Michigan in this tournament? It's hard to do, isn't it? I mean, last year, what a run. This year, what a run. They just play well at the right times, Donnie. I mean, all year they were kind of, I don't really know if they knew what their identity was, but I think everyone seems to know their identity now. They're starting to shoot the ball a lot better. I've noticed over the last 10 or so games. Duncan Robinson's back to being a sniper again. Mo Wagner's, to me, a matchup nightmare. I don't really know how you guard him if you're a big. I mean, you got to be able to be mobile. Nick Ward, I'm not sure he's mobile enough to go out and guard him. But here's the thing. Jaren Jackson is an elite defender, and I'd imagine he'll be tasked with Mo Wagner. It's a tough one, man, because I don't like Michigan State laying points. This conference has mostly been a very heated conference all season, and even in this tournament. Yeah, it's hard to not take the points here. But my question to you is, it seems like Michigan is the public side here. Why is the line going the other way? To me, this line looks like a Michigan State line, just because I do think the public will be on Michigan here. I just am saying, I don't know that Mo Wagner is a legitimately good. I don't think that's a good matchup or positive matchup today. I'd imagine Jaren Jackson is kind of salivating to face Wagner. I think he's a decent matchup. He's very mobile and athletic. I got to look more into the specific matchups in this game.
All right, Jeff, Josh, then now see this. They're stepping up their game because I know you're going to like this next one here, Jeff. Let's swing it down to 675, 676. That's going to be Tennessee, Chattanooga, East Tennessee State. Early wagers here, folks. Not that many tickets are in here, but everybody, I should say everybody, 85% of those tickets leaning towards East Tennessee State. And this one, Jeff, opened up at 11.5. Quickly bet to 12.5. Over under, Jeff, about 136.5, 137, depending on where you're shopping. What are we seeing out of the Battle of Tennessee, I guess you could say, in this one?
What game number again, Donnie?
675, 676, 6 p.m. tip-off, Tennessee, Chattanooga, East Tennessee State.
Yeah, I mean, Tennessee, Chattanooga, I think, was lucky to move on against, I think, Samford. Samford's had a terrible season. Both these teams have had pretty poor seasons. I mean, Chattanooga loses their coach. I mean, you kind of expected this. East Tennessee State's been kind of limping into this tournament, but now it's tournament time. Steve Forbes is a great game preparer. I'd be looking at nothing but the Bucks in this game. They should be able to handle business here. Really should be able to handle business for the most part in this tournament. They're one of the better teams you have here. Chattanooga, I think, is kind of just buying time. They won a game. They get an extra 24 hours here, but I don't think it's going to be long lasting. This looks like a 15-point blowout for East Tennessee State. I'd probably be looking at here.
All right, Jeff, we're going to go with Kyle here. 577, 578. Let's see what we got here. 577. That would be Louisville and NC State. Jeff, about 600 tickets have been tracked in this ACC tilt. Maybe some bubble team action here. Line opened up at 3. Jeff, that's sunk down to 1 in the favor of NC State. So some Louisville money coming in. And Jeff, it's always interesting to see how teams bounce back in college basketball because they're kids, 18 to 21, 22 years old. to have a win, and I mean a win over a big program like Villanova to hang on your resume, absolutely get stolen from you, not because the refs' fault, because you just blew a game that you should have won 99.999% of the time and you took a loss in that game. How do you bounce back here now going on the road? But it looks like there is support for Louisville.
Yeah, it's a pass for me. I got nothing on this game, Donnie. I don't know what the mindset's going to be of NC State or Louisville. They've been mentally tough all year, though. NC State, I like, but I don't trust defensively. Pass for me.
All right, Jeff. Isan tweets, a longtime follower for us, Jeff. 565, 566. That's going to be some Big 12 action. 4 p.m. today. Kansas and Oklahoma State. 68% of those wagers from Kansas lining up. The line opened up, Jeff, at 5, but has since sunk back to 3 in the favor of Kansas. So Oklahoma State money coming in here. The problem is, Jeff, what does Kansas have to play for at this point? Wrapping up the Big 12, celebrating a senior night, and now you're going to go on the road to Oklahoma State in this one. To me, I still would lean towards Kansas. I'm just not a big fan of Oklahoma State, but motivation in some of these games is the question mark that we're looking at.
Yeah, another game I just don't understand why you'd have any interest in. I don't see the motivation here. I don't see any reason why you would want. I mean, what's the thought process on betting this game? I mean, I think Kansas is really going to care about revenge in this game. I mean, come on. I mean, the game doesn't mean anything. Sure, Kansas is a better team, but you got to look towards games that mean something to me today. This is not one of them. Pass.
Jeff, here we go. 661, 662, 4 p.m. Eastern time tip-off. Weber State, Montana State. 70% of the early tickets, Jeff, lining up for Weber State in this one. A little bit better feel. -3. Weber State opens up. 3.5 looks like across the board, Jeff. Sportsbook.ag, actually, Jeff, showing a -4.5 here for Weber State in this one versus Montana State. Over under 151. Weber State, Jeff. You might as well be on the board of trustees. What are we looking at here?
Yeah, I can't say there's a team in the country I've had kind of more success with than them. Just in betting on and knowing when not to bet. I mean, I kind of jumped off the train after Sac State. They've proceeded to lose 3 straight, and I haven't been on any of them. So it's been a nice kind of season with Weber. This is a game where, for me, I think it's time that you maybe get back on the Weber train. Yeah, end the season on a high note. You still can move up seating wise. You kind of want to get into that number 2 spot, face some of the bottom feeders. And you want to go into the tournament. You don't want to go into this tournament losing 4 straight games, Donnie. And Randy Rahe is a guy that will have his team prepared. He's a great coach. Montana State's not any good. Weber's had good success all year on the road. It's kind of random, though. These teams haven't played yet this year. The random Big Sky teams that haven't played each other. Montana State has Tyler Hall. He's a good player, but for me, I just think Weber's too strong. They're a great defensive team. That's kind of the difference between them and a lot of other teams in this conference. Montana State, Northern Arizona, Portland State, all these different teams just don't play any defense. I mean, it's very easy to score against them. You have an efficient team offense here in Weber. You have an efficient defense here in Weber. I think they end the season on a high note, get a pretty solid victory here, and go off into the Big Sky tournament as the number 2 seed.
Jeff, 693, 694, a 1 o'clock tip. UMBC at home here. Massachusetts low, 517 tickets have been tracked, Jeff. Looks like we're heading about double digits, 9 to 9.5 across the board. What are we taking a look at? I know you mentioned this team earlier today. Any thoughts or processes on this game?
Yeah, like I said, it's an interesting game because UMass Lowell, it's their first NCAA tournament game ever in sort of any conference or obviously never been to the Big Gants. And their coach is really coming into this game. They're coming in with a lot of confidence. They've won some games lately. It's a great spot for them. And here's the great thing about UMBC, that the Retrievers will run with you. That's their goal. They want to play frenetically. Jarris Lyles is not only one of the best players in the conference, but one of the best players in the country, a pure scorer. He's going to put points on the board. And, Ryan Odom, the coach of UMBC, I'd imagine at some point he's going to move on to bigger and better things. He's done some real good things at this program. He's the son of a coach, kind of someone that I think will move on. And, I think this game, it'll be a little bit closer than people think, but I'd look towards a total in this game. Both these teams are very up-tempo, very fast-paced. UMass Lowell will be excited, I'm sure. Maybe forget some defensive breakdowns and things like that. Both these teams pretty good offensively as well. I'm excited about UMass Lowell. How could you not be excited for the Riverhawks in this game? Their first NCAA conference tournament game. I'd probably look over.
All right, Jeff. Emza chimes in. We're going to go to rotation number 697, 698, 7 o'clock tip Eastern time. That's going to be Maine, Vermont, Jeff. 60% of the early tickets, Jeff, lining up on Maine at this point, but the line opens up at 22 and 23, has been bet down a little bit to 21, so Vermont still a heavy favorite in this one. But again, in the big dance, Vermont's not going to get an at-large bid at this point. It's all about the automatic bid, and style points don't matter. Whether you win by 1 or 40, you might want to save up a little bit of energy. Do they expend their energy, Jeff, and blow out Maine, or can Maine keep it close here because Vermont might have a little bit bigger ticket on their mind?
Yeah, I mean, it's hard to envision the Black Bears. That's their mascot. Very cool mascot. The Black Bears of Maine. It's hard to envision Maine having any success in this game. I mean,
hey, Jeff, by the way, I want to is this the same Maine team that was swinging and knocking guys out in the locker room before the tournament last year?
Correct. I believe that was the same Maine team. Yes. These are for me kind of where some of these conferences there's a little bit too much, you know, revelry in some of the smaller teams. Like, does Maine really belong? I mean, should they really be in this tournament? I mean, their only wins this year against Binghamton twice. They beat New Hampshire, Maine Machias College. I mean, Maine Presque Isle, and they did beat Quinnipiac somehow. I don't know how that happened, but yeah, just a shit game. Emza, I feel like he's mentioned this game to me before. You're right. There are no style points here, but when you have a team in Maine that is terrible on offense, they shoot under 40% on the road. They have won 2 games on the road, and those are against subpar opponents. They give up almost 80 points a game in conference. Vermont is healthy again, Donnie. Anthony Lamb back healthy. But you have to wonder, how long will they be in this game? That's your big concern. They should roll. They should be up 25. But the question is, will John Becker pull his team out and say, listen, obviously we want to preserve bodies here. We're going to have to make a run. If we make a run and we get into the tournament, we want to be fresh if we can. I got to tell you, I think this is one of those like 30-point blowouts, though. I don't have any interest in Maine here. Vermont is, to me, Vermont's a team that I think will win a game in the tournament. I think they're that good.
Jeff, Joe, Kyle, and everybody in the chat box is very intrigued by this game here. 563, 564, a 4 p.m. Eastern time tip-off between those Notre Dame Fighting Irish heading on the road to play Virginia. Bonzi's back in the house. They pick up a really tough win over a really good Pitt basketball team, Jeff, and now head out on the road to play Virginia. The line opened up at 10, has been bet backwards to 9, some 8.5s even showing up on the board. Motivation, I don't know. How long does Bonzi play in this game? Does Notre Dame absolutely need this game? Is Virginia just going to say, you know what, we're going to head to the tournament and get ready for the ACC? One of those tough lines to read into, but when you're looking, Jeff, I know you said it and you're a proponent all season long, when you're taking a look at Virginia, there's limited possessions in a basketball game to win by double digits. If you're looking at this from an outside perspective, you're saying Notre Dame's going to be able to hit the open shot. Notre Dame's going to slow it down, run a fluid offense, and not turn the basketball over and give Virginia easy runouts on the opposite side. Jeff, does this hold true today, or is this number a little bit too high for Virginia?
Yeah, I think on precedence alone with the number, I think you have to take Notre Dame here. I think, Donnie, this is a dire game for Notre Dame. I think they need this game desperately. Their resume is not good enough right now, even without injuries. You know, injuries are obviously important, but listen, you lost the games. Doesn't really matter. This is a game that if Notre Dame can find a way to win, I think they're in the tournament. Honestly, I think they're on the bubble now. I think a game like this will put them in the tournament. They'll win a game or two in their conference tournament. Notre Dame is, with Colson back, to me, a top 20 team. I believe that. I think they're a really good basketball team. And you're giving me 9 points with a team like that. Let's say Colson was Donnie, not injured, and this game was towards the end of the year. We would have a situation probably here where they're all in and this game doesn't mean anything. But when here's what I like to back. I like to back a team who's talented, who can, who is hungry, let's say. Notre Dame is probably the hungriest team on the board today. Mike Brey's a great coach. He makes his team aware of things like that. And Donnie, here's where I think you can beat Virginia. If you have and it's interesting because sometimes you don't have this. You might think you have it, but you don't. Efficient bigs and an efficient backcourt. Duke, you think has it, but they don't, and that's the main reason they couldn't beat Virginia. Begley had a great game. It was the guards that couldn't make anything happen. To me, I like the Notre Dame backcourt. I love Farrell. I like some of the pieces that they have: Pfluger, Gibbs, Gebbin, and then you have Mr. Colson back, who to me is an All-American. I love Bonzie Colson. I'm happy to see him back. Um, Donnie, being Catholic and being raised Catholic, I always have a special place for Notre Dame basketball, particularly. Just kind of when you're Catholic growing up, Notre Dame's kind of that Catholic team you root for or care about. This has no bearing on this game, but I want to believe in them today. I have a weird feeling that they can win this game. I've circled this game. I hoped it would matter. And when you're getting a team this many points at this number, and look at Virginia. I mean, they're coming off such a huge win. I think Notre Dame's the play here. A 10 would have been a better number, but I still think 9 has some value there.
All right, Jeff, we got 2 more games we're going to pick out of the chat box that I scooped up here, and then we're going to get to some best bets, and we'll let you open up the board and give some thoughts on some plays for yourself. 547, 548 real quick, Jeff. As I said, 547, 548. That's going to be Baylor, Kansas State. 2 p.m. tip-off here. Looks like 32% of the wagers are looking at Baylor on the road. Obviously, that means a heavy presence on Kansas State, 68%. Line opened up at 1.5. Now in the octagon of doom for Kansas State, that line's now 2.5. Does Baylor need this game? Who's going to steal this one? For me, it's hard to win on the road in the Big 12 in this one, Jeff. Which way we lean in here?
Yeah, Baylor definitely needs this game. And, they're not getting Kansas State at the worst time. Kansas State struggled a little bit lately. They've lost a couple in a row. But those are obviously both on the road. You're back at home now in a game that, look, it's hard to go and win in Manhattan. Baylor needs to try to find a way to win the game. I mean, they were right there in the first game in Waco. They weren't able to get the job done. Look, Big 12's like the SEC to me. It's hard to win on the road there, like you said. Not really interested. Baylor needs it. That doesn't mean they're going to win.
All right, one more game. Nick shoots out, Jeff. 673, 674, a 2:30 p.m. tip today, Jeff. That's Wofford and Mercer. 55% of those tickets lining up for Mercer in this one. Opened up at 3, Jeff, but now Chris showing a -1.5 and looks like 2s across the board. Wofford, Mercer, your thoughts?
Yeah, I'm actually real high on Mercer in this tournament. I think they're going to win it. I actually picked them to win this tournament. I just like the dynamic they have coming into this game. They've won 8 in a row. Bob Hoffman's team's been playing fantastic. They got their boy Rion Holland back, who I think you're well aware. He's an important player to the team.
Yep.
They have 5 seniors, Donnie. That's tough to say you have. I mean, 5 seniors, very difficult. Doesn't happen much. I think with all those guys back, I think with the dynamic they have there, I like Mercer. I think they're a team that will do some good things in this tournament. They beat Wofford twice this year. One of the games was pretty close, but for me, Wofford is very just relying on Fletcher McGee. I mean, if he doesn't have a good game, they normally lose. That's just kind of the crux of it. I picked Mercer to win this tournament, so in this game, I'm going to pick them to win and cover. I think they kind of make a bit of a run in this tournament and get back and maybe get to the final here and have a shot to win it. I would go with Mercer here.
Jeff, 10 minutes left in the show. We always like to open it up for you there, see if you can peel through a couple games that piqued your interest. And, of course, we'll get to some best bets for the day. You can put your money down and make some money off of today. Jeff, the board is wide open. Where are you headed?
I'll just kind of run through some of these games here,
Let's
kind
go.
of see kind of what we're looking at here. Obviously there's a lot of games that are very important. You look at late night UCLA USC. This is a bubble burst game, Donnie. This is I think whoever wins this is in, whoever loses is out. This is a dire straight kind of situation for both teams. You could still get a 5.5 at bookmaker. I think it's hard to not just take the points and pray here, as you say, with UCLA. I think on paper, with Boatwright out, with Melton out, with all these players kind of on the sidelines, I think UCLA is kind of just waiting here. This is a rivalry game. Should be a fantastic atmosphere out in Southern Cal. You'll have this one on ESPN, I'd imagine. I would take the points here. 5.5 is a great number. You're getting it up over that kind of no man land. You're going to need to win by margin here for USC, and I just see these teams as coin flips. You need to look for those late in the season here, and I think you have it in this game. I'm leaning and going to go with. I'm going to take UCLA. They're going to be a play for me today. I just think 5.5 points is too many. I could see UCLA winning this game. I think really, I've been impressed by what they've done this year. I mean, this is another team that's had a lot of random things go on. You had the three players, kind of, what they did in China, and just it's just you have to be mentally, and I mean this, you have to be mentally tough to play in that area, especially as a college player. I mean, it seems like everyone's eyes are on you. You really kind of have to be like Donnie. Is there any place tougher to play than like a USC, really, in the media, that kind of thing? You're in the forefront there. Obviously the cameras have been around. Cameras are still talking about this LiAngelo Ball situation. I think UCLA is in dire straits here. I'm going to take them at 5.5 in this game. They're definitely going to be a play for me today.
All right. Any other plays that you got to give out today? I got a couple I'm going to lean on in the Ivy League today with some interest. You want me to get to those?
Yeah, real quick. Let me just run through a game or two that
Yep,
I kind of I'm looking at here. I'll definitely be adding to what I'm looking at, but you got where was it at here? Bradley, Loyola, Illinois. Interesting game here. You talk about two games yesterday that were pretty interesting. Loyola, Illinois against Evansville. What's the status of Custer for Loyola? He went out with an injury. Is he in? If he's not in, Bradley's under Brian Wardell, Donnie, a great defensive team. They were really good in the last 3 minutes of that game against Drake the other night. Last night, I don't think they allowed a bucket against Drake in that game in the last 2-3 minutes. Maybe getting 6 points. Loyola without their best player might be worth a look. Loyola, I think, will win this tournament, but they need that kid back in there healthy, Custer. I'm interested in this one. Maybe an under. This could be a real knockdown, drag-out type of game. Ugly MVC, Arch Madness type of game here.
Yeah, it looks like Custer's listed as probable for the game today, updated this morning.
Go.
So it looks like he's probably going to give it a go there.
Cool. What do you got on your plays?
Yeah, let's see what we got here, Jeff. I'm going to go over a couple. And again, we're heading down the stretch here. If you're not looking at conference tournament play, you want to look at some games and some instances where teams are a must-win, or maybe they have something wrapped up. I got two plays I want to go over today, Jeff. 579, 580, and 589, 590. Both of these Ivy League, maybe a little bit off the radar, but if you're not familiar with the Ivy League, it's near and dear to our heart in the East Coast here. Typically, the winner of the league would just move on to the tournament. But I believe it was last year was the first year that the Ivy instituted. They're going to have their own tournament. But keep in mind, folks, only the top four make it into this tournament. And that's where we're going to direct everything here. Penn lost an absolute heartbreaker last night and still sitting on the top line with Harvard right behind them in a tie. Penn still needs to pick the victory. Scooped this line up at -4.5 this morning. It's now sitting at 5. It's at 5. I still take it. In this game, Brown is out of it. Brown's not playing for anything. Brown played at home last night and got blown out. So if you're looking at any, win one for the Gipper, let's get hot down the stretch. Penn absolutely needs this game to stay on that top line. Brown not playing for anything. Brown not playing any defense. Penn, to me, coming off a tough loss last night, knowing they need to win the game today, they should be able to wrap it up and beat Brown. Play number 2 for me, Jeff, 589, 590. Princeton going on the road versus Yale. Yale is locked into that 3rd seed with absolutely nothing to play for. Princeton, that's been a disappointment for most of the season. If they win today, that keeps their hopes in grabbing that number 4 seed that they're in a 3-way tie for. Yale does not need this game. Makai Mason's not going to come back for this one, presumably. He did have a setback in practice about a week and a half ago, and has not seen any playing time since the loss to Harvard. Just with this instance here, Princeton absolutely needs to win or they go home. There's no tomorrow. There's no NIT. There's no nothing for Princeton. If they win, they have a shot to play in the Final Four there in Philadelphia at the Palestra. So those two games with some added meaning. Brown doesn't need this game at all. Penn does. I'll take that. Secondarily, we'll take a look at Princeton over Yale. Princeton needs this or they go home. Yale already locked into the 3 seed, can't move up higher or lower. I look for a big effort from Princeton this one. I'll take the 3 points in that game, and now actually sits at 2 right now. So if we're looking at live lines, Jeff, Penn -5, Princeton +2. I'll take both of those games as my plays of the day.
Yeah, screwing around with the Ivy League, never a bad thing. Well, actually, it is to me. I wouldn't be doing it. But, no, I think you're on the right sides there with a couple of those games. One other one, Donnie, before we go. We got about 5 minutes here. Iona, Manhattan. This is always a fairly contested matchup. These schools not separated by very far. Steve Masiello, Tim Kluse. I think with with the kind of layout of this tournament now, Donnie, I think Iona to me is got to be probably the favorite. No, I mean you love this tournament. Iona with their moxie and everything. That are they real quick before I get into the pick? Are they the favorite to you now?
They have to be, right? I mean, you're looking at guard play. You're looking at the most talented team left. To me, it would be Iona. Yes.
And you look at Iona, I mean, they've just owned Manhattan over the last couple of years. They've covered 6 straight games against the Manhattan Jaspers. And look, this Manhattan team is still not very good. They have shot the ball a little bit better though lately. I mean, Iona always has those defensive issues. You got to think to yourself, Donnie, if Manhattan can continue to shoot the way they have been, you got to figure this is a pretty high scoring game. I mean, Iona is always very, very quick, very up tempo. You only have a total of 144 and a half here. For Iona standards, that's pretty low, isn't it?
Yeah, no, and you're right about this game. Looking at also both these teams got those proverbial, extra buys. So neither one of these teams have played a game yet in the Times Union Center. So it's an even keel. It's not like, Manhattan was a lower seeded team. They played and won last night. They're coming in hot. Both these teams are going to try it out for the first time.
Yeah, I think the over might be worth a look here, especially when you're getting a number like this in an Iona game. It's always kind of maybe important to just kind of say, you know what, I'm going to just take the over here. Iona's a frantic team; they love to score. Don't really do a ton of stopping as well. I mean, 47, Donnie, pace wise, that's very high, very up tempo. That's an intriguing one as well. Belmont Murray State,
No, and
last
also
one
Jeff,
here.
another good one. If you,
Yeah,
if you go ahead.
no,
No, I
speak.
was just going to say in that Iona game, Jeff, winner goes home. So you're looking at a game that's not a 20-point line, it's a 5-point line, presumably
Right.
played under 10 points in this one, and you're not going home. A minute and a half, 2 minutes to go. You're going to foul and foul and foul and foul and foul. That's always going to be
Yes.
added in there, Jeff. Go ahead with Murray State.
Yeah, and the MAAC games are generally very long towards the end. That might
Yep.
have some value there. 144. One more here. Belmont Murray State. This is. It's a shame this game isn't the championship game. Actually, it is the championship game. What am I saying? Murray State Belmont. This should be what the championship game is. These are the two best teams in this conference. I just look at two things. Is Belmont as good as normal? I don't think they are. I think this is one of Bird's down teams, if you will. They're still very good, but you didn't see that dominance like normal. Murray is really fantastic on both sides of the ball. They're a better defensive team here than Belmont is. I think in this kind of game, I really thought all year. I mean, did I want Murray to get there? No, I kind of Jacksonville State pegged, but at this point, Murray's very well recepted at that Ford Center. Donnie, I don't know if you watched their game last night. There were a ton of fans
Yes.
there. I think it's
Yep.
a foregone conclusion Murray State wins this game. I'm very interested in Murray minus 120 on the money line here. I think this is a good play. I think they're the best team. Their offensive and defensive efficiencies are right there. Murray looks real good in this spot.
Yeah, you know what's interesting about that Murray State game? I always like teams, Jeff, that go into cruise control the night before, up 20 on Jacksonville State. Jacksonville State charges in the second half and actually takes the lead, but Murray State enough moxie to hang on and actually get the win and cover in that one. Sometimes that's a little bit of a wake-up call heading into the next game, so they're in a pretty good position.
Yeah, and again, with Murray, they you're right. They needed moxie. They needed to score the final 9 points of that game to beat the Gamecocks there. And you look at Murray. They've kind of been beaten up a little bit lately by Belmont. I think it's time to kind of exhaust everything here and beat them and go to the tournament. I think Murray will punch their ticket tonight. I think they're a good play here.
No, folks, that's give us about out of time. One of the best, fastest hours of the week, 11 o'clock to 12 o'clock, the closing line sit down. I'm Donnie Rightside. He's the big man on campus. Jeff, you want to leave with anything before we get out of here? Fun day of basketball ahead, bud.
Yeah, everyone enjoy. Hope you have a great day. Follow me on Twitter. That's where all my plays will be posted. I already put UCLA out, as I said on the video here. I'll add more towards the end of the day. Hopefully we can have a good day here. And I'm on the verge, Donnie. I'm 2-3 this week. I don't. I
Hmm.
honestly, and I'm being honest, I can't remember the last losing week I've had in college basketball. We need a pretty good weekend here to avoid that. So we'll see what happens. We'll flip the coin and just another day in the office here, Donnie. Have a great day, everyone. We'll see you Monday here on the right side of campus. Have a great day. Bye bye. Wrap it up. Larry, you there?
I'm smiling for
Little
the
outtake.
camera.
Little
Yeah,
outtake
yeah, come
session
on, let's
here.
go. Yep. Smile, Jeff. Get your headshot in there, mugshot.
Shout out to all my Albanian. Yo, Lar. Is this is this happening on purpose or what? I feel like if we just hang up, maybe the show will end. They want me to stay on the air.
There we go.
Bye bye.
Peace out.